As a true Dominican, I really think we could make it. But as a people, we have to learn to commit. Journey ahead will never be smooth and sweet. But as an ambitious nation, we have to be upbeat. I know we have done it before, so we can do it again. All the pain we've endured, but pride we have to maintain in order to create a better world. Every living soul has to play their role. We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make Dominica strong. We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make Dominica strong. We got to stamp out the devil, stamp out the evil, jealousy, not by me, certainly. We got to stamp out greediness, stamp out wickedness, jealousy, not by me, certainly. Tomorrow is the first day. The rest of our lives, let's make tomorrow the first day of the rest of our life. We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make our country strong. Whoa. Change. Whoa. I remember the love and unity that we once shared. Starting from the home, the children would be prepared. Goodness was a daily part of our living. This society would be part of our children upbringing. We used to eat everything we grow and grow everything we eat. But smiling faces would glow and our people will real this street. We need to go back to where we were. Otherwise we'll witness things we never seen before. We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make Dominica strong. We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make Dominica strong. We got to stamp out the ugly, stamp out cruelty, jealousy, not by we, certainly. We got to fight hypocrisy, all conspiracy, jealousy, not by we, certainly. Tomorrow is the first day. The rest of our lives, let's make tomorrow the first day of the rest of our lives. We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make our country strong. Oh, change. Oh. Grandma used to say that laziness is a real crime. It captivates your body, then retards your mind. As a people, we have to change this old attitude and give our country all the love we really should. Instead, we sit and we criticize, where we say let's now analyze and give young people no scope in difficult times just how to cope. It's us to build them the foundation in order to build a stronger, vibrant nation. Opportunity to change things around, an opportunity.
Yes, folks, indeed, an opportunity to change things around. That is how we want to start this evening's Civic Vibes program for yet another Sunday, today being the 28th day of April 2024. Welcome on board. Those of you who are already here, it's a pleasure to have you here in our listening and viewing audience. Thank you very much indeed. Those of you in Dominica, the region, or even further afield, welcome on board indeed. What we ask of you is now that we are live, you can please let someone know that that program is on so that they too can be part and parcel of that program indeed. It is called Civic Vibes. That is where we talk about everything as it relates to civics. We are a civic-minded organization. We speak about the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. So yes, we're about to go. It's 5 minutes past 6 o'clock, and that is how we are about to drop it here this evening. We have two segments, two very important segments. The first segment is where we're going to have a conversation with two young ladies. They're already here, ready to go. And we're going to hear from them in just a bit as it pertains to Dominica, especially Marigot and Mayfest. So yes, those of you in that part of Dominica, you want to draw near at this time to just hear what these two young ladies have in tune for the festivities in May coming up. So folks, yes, that is how we are doing it this evening. The second segment of the program, we have an esteemed panel of gentlemen from the ERC, that is from the Electoral Reform Coalition movement in Dominica. And so at the bottom of the hour, 6:30, we're going to hear from this gentleman as we continue as a people to push for free, fair, and transparent general elections in Dominica. So yes, a very interesting program, two big segments await you, so that please make yourself very, very comfortable at this time and be in tune for much needed information and education. All right? Obviously, a little entertainment in between. That is how we always do it each and every time right here. So folks, without much delay, time is not on our side for sure. Let me just move across now to Alvin Thomas so that he can say his hi and hello and introduce himself to you as usual. Alvin, good evening to you, my brother. Greetings and welcome.
Hey, Lofty, good afternoon, my brother. How you doing? I'm not sure if it's from my end, but Donnelly is looking like on the side. I don't know if it's a camera.
She will set that up. I think she's having a little technical difficulty, but she will get that right in a bit. I'm hoping, I'm presuming.
Okay, good. But let me just say a pleasant good evening again to everyone who is already logged in onto the Civic Vibes platform. And in a special way to again welcome our two guests, Jose Thomas and Donnelly Daly. There seems to be some connections there. I don't know, because as you can see, Lofty, you have Alvin Thomas and Jose Thomas. And Donnelly Daly, my uncle Ted Daly is a Daly. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on there this afternoon.
Well, all that means, Alvin, you're in very good company.
But let me just say a special good afternoon, good evening to both of them. And to, as I said, our many folks who have already logged in. Yes, you've said it right, Lofty. We have a very packed program today, very interesting program. So I will just say welcome to all and all, and look forward to a very interesting engagement as we proceed this afternoon. I got some news earlier today. I don't know whether you've heard it yourself or confirmed it. And sometimes it's a little difficult when you get the news to say if you're not sure. But it's my understanding that Mr. Philip Nassif passed.
Well, Alvin, I haven't heard that, and I can't confirm that as yet. But I'm hoping during the course of the program, if that is true, then great. we will confirm it. But as for me, I cannot as yet.
All right. So you might want to, those many persons who are celebrating today, we want to say happy celebration to any of you, wherever you are. And those of you who are mourning, we want to say extend our condolences on behalf of Civic Vibes to you, your family. We know this past week was a little challenging for some families in Dominica. We had some sad news. And therefore, we just want to say to you to hang in there and have faith and continue, even while we out there in the vineyard doing the work of the Lord, as they say. So with those few words, I hand back over to you, Brother Lofty.
All right, indeed. Alvin, thank you very much indeed. Folks, it is already 10 minutes past the good old hour of 6 o'clock. And so, yes, we thank the number of you already here. We can go through the live feed tonight in terms of calling the names because time is against us, as I said. So without much delay, let me move across now and say a special greetings, a special good afternoon to the two young ladies, Donnelly Daly and Miss Jose Thomas. They're in with us. Ladies, a pleasant good evening to you. And again, welcome. It has been some time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Durant, for having us on the program. It's a privilege to be back.
Indeed, a privilege to have you as well on behalf of the Civic Vibes team and the many folks listening and watching. Donnelly, you need to unmute and say your hi and hello as well. You need to unmute.
Hi, Mr. Durant. How are you? It's good to be back after a little while from our last project. It's nice to see you.
Nice seeing you as well, and welcome.
Thank you.
Wherever we see Josie, we see you. What's up with that?
Well, Josie and I, we are the dynamic duo. We make a perfect team, and right now we are on a roll with these projects. So you see Josie, you see me.
Wow. It's like what, two peas in a pod, is that?
Yes.
All right, guys, thank you very much. You guys are no stranger to the viewing and listening audience. So let us just get right into it as it pertains to that very, I must say, innovative idea / activity that is carried for Marigot, this Mayfest.
Yes. So this year, Setwa Official is a part of the Mayfest brand, and we have the first night of Mayfest, so scheduled for Friday, May 31st, starting promptly at 11 p.m. We have a brand new Juve-inspired event. I know a lot of you that's listening on the live have one question at the top of your mind. What is Hurricane Colors? Hurricane Colors is a Juve-inspired event brought to you by the Juve specialists themselves, Setwa Official. And we'll go into more details during the course of the interview, but it is a Juve-inspired event, staying on brand for Setwa.
Yes, indeed. For folks who were not here with us the last time when we went a little in detail as to just what is Setwa, where that idea came from. Josie, you mind just going back there a bit?
Yes, of course. So Setwa, which is derived from the French phrase c'est-toi, means it's you. And it really is a focus for the business to provide the best Juve experience to our customers. We're very customer focused, and it is in an effort to develop the countryside, Margaret, Wesley, and our larger catchment area. So if you were not a part of Setwa in its initial inception, we launched our first part of our business, which is our Setwa Juve band, but the brand itself is Setwa Official.
Indeed. All right. Good enough. A little more information about the Hurricane Callers event coming up. Just go a little bit there for us to know much more about that all-important event.
Yes, of course. So Hurricane Colors is a standalone Juve-inspired event. So what do I mean by that? Think of similar events within that bracket. So like your breakfast fete, your color me fete, introducing Hurricane Colors. So we're going to have 3 sections. In line with our theme, the first section is the storm. So the storm is where the hurricane is actually going to touch down. That will be a Setwa Juve in itself. So paint, powder, foam, and the like. Then we have a safe zone, of course, because this is a standalone event. We want all patrons to feel welcome to attend. So the safe zone is called Hurricane Eye. As we know, the eye of the hurricane tends to be a little bit calmer. So in that specific zone, we will not be throwing any paint or powder. So patrons who purchase that section can navigate to the storm and back to the safe zone. And then finally, in true Dominican fashion, we have to have our VIP hurricane shelter. So in our hurricane shelter, you will be safe from the paint, powder, foam, water, and the like. And it will be an all-inclusive experience to feature food and drinks. And patrons in that specific section will have the ability to navigate both sections.
Josie, I'm already loving the event. I'm already loving the idea of the event, I must say. Can you just give us how that, innovative idea came about in terms of even having some kind of festive activity?
Of course. The business's underlying mission is really to develop where we're from, which is Margaret, and Mayfest has been a long-standing part of Margaret's history. So as 2 savvy business-minded individuals, this was a part of our plan from the inception. So we want to make it clear that Setwa Official is the larger brand. We just launched Setwa Juve Band first Now we are launching Hurricane Colors. Of course, the name Hurricane Colors is applicable, being a part of the islands and privy to hurricanes. And also, we just came back from a very disastrous event with Hurricane Maria. And like our people historically do, our Black and Brown people, we always reclaim traumatic events. So we wanted to reclaim it and make it something fun and dynamic. And it goes in line with the brand for just being a Juve band.
Wow, very interesting so far. Alvin, are you coming down for that fete, Alvin?
Well, it looked like, based on what I'm hearing so far, May is around the corner. I may have to go and check what flights look like.
All right.
And check it out.
You can chat or something.
Yeah, man.
Any comments from you, Alvin, so far?
No, I think so far I'm very impressed with what I'm hearing. I mean, these two ladies seem to have this thing well packed down, you know. So maybe Donnelly could chime in now and add, you know, some aspect to it. Give me a little more reasons why it need to come.
Sure. With Hurricane Colors on our lineup to make the night what we really want it to be, we have some of the best DJs on the island, and we have one of the most versatile bands, very talented, young and talented individuals. I will list them out. We have DJ Pocket from Woodford Hill. We have DJ Slim, DJ MJ, we have DJ Apute, and we have the versatile DJ Tuna. On the lineup also, we have Kenny G, the famous Kenny G, and Signal Band to bring down the morning. Hurricane Colors is a Juve event, as Jose said. So we have incorporated paint, powder, and water. But, you know, there are some people, because it's an event, we sort of consider the people that do not want to partake in the paint, powder, and water, and we sectionize the event. So as Jose said earlier, we have 3 colors. And one of the things I would like to take the opportunity to highlight, Hurricane Colors, this year, our Hurricane color is orange. So we are encouraging our patrons and the people who intend to attend the event, Hurricane Colors, we are encouraging them to wear orange, anything orange, because this year the Hurricane color is orange. And as Jose said, the idea is for this to be annual, this event to be annual. We are operating under the brand Setwa Official. We have already launched Setwa Juve Band, which was successful, and we are looking forward to 2025. And here we are launching our very own Juve event, Hurricane Colors. So for this year, we want to wear orange. So Alvin, if you're coming down, you need to walk with your orange attire to blend in. Don't forget that.
All right, certainly making note of that.
Indeed. Someone, Miss Daly, well, Alvin will be there. I can vouch for him. I can vouch for him. Alvin will be there based on the smile and everything so far. Someone is already, you know, sort of endorsing, as it were, the event. Diamond Alistair Tyson says here, Hurricane Colors event is expected to give you the full blast of what Mayfest will be, powerfully and luxury lasting.
Right on cue. Thank you.
I also think it's important to note that Setwa Official is the brand. And so we were really encouraging the patrons to buy into the brand. So those people who signed up with us for our Juve band, once you sign up with Setwa Official, we will have multiple events during the year, and that's really what we're trying to build. So we're calling all of our dirty masqueraders from the Juve earlier in 2024 to come along with us for Hurricane Colors, and then we will drop more events going forward. So the brand itself will have multiple events, and we're hoping to create a really good fan base.
Wow. What's the price tag though? Someone may be asking now or thinking, what's the price tag per person for that event?
Well, of course, we priced it appropriately for our market. So these are the prices. Starting off online, tickets are available. Online, The storm, $60 flat, no questions asked, available online. If you were to purchase at the gate, it will be $80, so purchase today. The second section, which is the Hurricane Eye, starting price online, $80. If you wait until you have to get tickets at the gate, it will be $100. VIP Hurricane Shelter, online purchases only, $250. All of the tickets are available right now on ticketleaps.com. They will also be available tomorrow on www.setwaofficial.com. And you don't have to remember any of this. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Setwa Official.
Wow, so that promises to be a very, very big event. And based on the contribution, I call it prices that you mentioned there, I guess you're expecting a very big turnout.
Of course, we really are expecting a very large turnout, and what our patrons can expect for this new event to Mayfest is really a different experience. So we're really going for a themed experience, which means everything on brand with the hurricane colors, the paint, the powder, everything will be themed out. So come with your phones ready to take pictures. It's definitely an experiential event. Miss it and blame yourself. But of course, I know that some people might still be on the fence, so we have an exclusive discount code for all of your listeners, Mr. Durand.
That's very good. So once they're listening to Civic Vibes, they will get a discount. Okay, that's good. That's good. Someone is asking there, Patricia Fontaine, whether food and drinks are included in the prices that you gave.
Food and drinks are included in our VIP section.
Okay, all right. So Ms. Fontaine, you heard only in the VIP section for the $250 price tag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I think it's important for us to note here that if you purchase the storm ticket, you will only be confined to the area for the storm. If you purchase the Hurricane Eye ticket, you will be able to navigate from the Hurricane Eye section into the storm and back. And if you purchase the VIP, the Hurricane Shelter ticket, you will be able to navigate through each of the sections, that is Hurricane Eye, the storm, and the VIP.
Yes, indeed.
Let me just ask
go ahead,
quickly, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I know from what I'm hearing so far, Setwa Official comes across as an event company, if I may put it this way. You talk about several other events, but is there other long-term goal in terms of what Setwa want to do in terms of community engagement or programs or anything of that sort? You don't necessarily have to go into too much detail, so that when someone is identified with that, they know, well, yes, I'm having fun, but in the process, we're giving back to something.
Of course. And I think that is the goal of Setwa. I think you have to meet the people where they are. And we as Dominicans, we like to party. But the ultimate goal is to build a self-sustaining entertainment business that can give back. So we definitely want to help send children to school, especially in our catchment area. We have a lot of brilliant students who probably do not have the opportunity. I was in that boat myself. Independently, I donate a yearly scholarship award to Northeast Comprehensive in the amount of $500. With the business, we want it to be bigger. Our long-term vision is to not only stay in Dominica, but be able to fund and assist students to go outside of the US. We are also creating jobs in this space as well. That's one thing that I'm super proud of, and I hope that that's what they're saying, that when you deal with Setwa paying cash. So that's the goal. The goal is to be self-sustaining as a business and really pave the way to say this is how it should be done so it can be self-sustainable. And then with the sustainable funds, we can develop our country.
Perfect.
But where we are presently, one of the things that we marketed ourselves as from the inception was to create a sustainable environment here and to promote economic growth in Marigot. So that is a part of our vision and our mission from the inception of CETWA. And we feel very proud that today we can say that yes, we did CETWA Juve, and the entire village of Marigot benefited some way, somehow. And not only the people that partake in the event, but the shop owners, the bus drivers, the taxi drivers, and the entire catchment area by extension benefits some way, somehow. So that is our vision and our mission, and that is what we are working towards.
Yeah, indeed. That is that was one of the questions on my mind to ask, but you answered it, Miss Donnelly, so I will not go there. The economic spin-off in terms of, what the event promises to bring, not just to Marigot, but to the general catchment area and by extension, Dominica. One question though, before we wrap up, because we see the time is running out. In terms of that activity, would you encourage other communities to emulate you guys in that department?
Of course. And we also calling a lot of the diasporans as well in a position that I'm in. It really doesn't take that much, but we have to develop our own villages independently. I think that's the larger goal. I want to see, as an economist, we have to develop the private sector. So I'm calling all of the diasporans that are around. There's a lot of brilliant minds in your own independent villages. Do the same. Donnelly kind of humbly touched on it, but we were responsible for the Juve in Marigot this year, and that is something that we really are proud of. And so we want to see that replicated in many, many different villages. And then we can all come together as private investors and say, this is what we were able to do in our independent villages. Now let's go larger. Now let's talk about parishes. Then let's talk about larger geographic locations. And then eventually, as a private sector, we can develop our island as a whole. And we can have projects that we're funding. So yeah.
Yes, indeed. Alvin, any final comments you want to punch in before we ask for a wrap up?
No, I think the two young ladies have been brilliant in what they have presented here this evening. I like the idea. I think as Jose finally, in a just brief remarks, the ultimate goal obviously has to be for the development of the people in the country. But like anything else, you have to start somewhere. You can't eat the whole elephant all at once. You have to eat it bit by bit. So I encourage that, and the fact that whatever they're doing can be used as a model or as a blueprint for other community, I think is also a great idea. So I just want to compliment and congratulate you guys and wish you all the best and every success. And like Donnelly, I better go and look and see where I can get that orange outfit and get gearing, okay?
You can and recycle, so you have one right now, you're ready.
You're smart, girl.
Don't let him escape, Donnelly.
Not at all. But I just want to encourage everyone on the live, our listening audience, to go ahead to Ticket Leap, today you can get the tickets. They are available on Ticket Leap. You can get the link directly to Ticket Leap on our page, CETWA on Facebook and CETWA Official on Instagram. And tomorrow you can look out for CETWAofficial.com. We will have tickets available there for purchase. Go ahead and get your tickets now. Secure your tickets now.
Ms. Donnelly, spell that CETWA for persons who may have some difficulty.
CETWA, SETWAH. CETWA.
Right. Good.
So we are CETWA on Facebook and CETWA Official on Instagram. You can go there and get the direct link to purchase your tickets.
Good. All right, guys, we are out of time basically, but if we can condense what we said a while ago in the last 20 minutes in 1 or 2 sentences to drive home the point so that our viewers and listeners can basically, if they tune in late, can get the concept of what you guys said a while ago. Your final wrapping up comments.
Final wrap-up comments. Mayfest 2024 is going to be kicked off night 1 with Hurricane Colors. Purchase your tickets now. Available online at Ticket Leaps. For all of Mr. Duran's listeners, we have an exclusive code. Use code Hurricane for a discount, and that code is active immediately.
and it is valid for 48 hours. So take advantage. Code Hurricane on Ticket Leap. Go ahead and get your discounts and see you at Hurricane Colors 2024 Night 1 of Mayfest.
So you guys are basically going to work up an early hurricane in May in Marigot at Mayfest. That's what I'm getting.
We're going to reclaim what a hurricane means.
Yeah, exactly. Lofty careful.
Yeah,
Not scaring people now and scaring me.
No,
Reclaim.
no more bad thoughts.
We're not starting one. We're reclaiming.
All right. You're reclaiming it. All right, guys. Thank you very much. If there's any other pressing thing that must be said, you can have 30 seconds to do that. But in the interest of time, you know, we have to leave.
No, thank you, Mr. Dura. You've always been very supportive and we appreciate it very much. You cannot understand the appreciation we have for your support, that you continuously lend us your platform for promotional purposes. So thank you very much, and we'll continue to support you as you support us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Duran, and have a blessed evening, Mr. Thomas and Mr. Duran.
Thank you. You too. Thank you very much.
All right, indeed. Thank you, ladies. We wish you all the best. And again, compliment you guys for the innovative idea or ideas as young persons, that is. All right, folks, let's do that song. We're going to play this song here. It's 6:31. Well, now we're going to look to see if we can play an ad here from the Marigot area. Let's see if we can get that ad on the screen here before we turn to our next segment, where we're going to talk to a number of representatives from the ERC, the Electoral Reform Coalition movement in Dominica. So let's see if we can get that ad for the Marigot Development Foundation, I believe. Yes, I hope I get that right. Yes.
Join us for a day of wellness at MDC's Marigot Village Health Fair, taking place Friday, May 3rd, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at W.S. Stevens Primary School, Weirs, Marigot. Come get free health checks, including cervical, breast and prostate screening, blood pressure and diabetes check. This event is presented by Fresh Market Pharmacy and St. Andrew's Hospital Foundation in collaboration with the Marigot Health District and supported by Trois Pitons Water, Q95 FM, Afu Awi Big Shop, Digicel, Country Style Bread, and the Marigot Development Corporation, MDC. Don't miss this opportunity to prioritize your health with us. Remember, your health is your wealth. See you there. Join us for a day of...
We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make our country.
An opportunity, yes, indeed, to make our country strong, says this young lady in song. So I want to thank the two young ladies who showed up a while ago. Give us much needed information as that Mayfest event is on, entitled Hurricane Callers.
I remember the love and unity that we want.
To all those of you tuning in at this time, welcome on board.
Children would be.
It's always a pleasure to have you guys in our company each and every Sunday.
Part of our living. This society would be part of our children upbringing.
Up next, we're going to have a very candid conversation with some gentlemen who are already here with us, some of them, from the Electoral Reform Coalition in Dominica, as we continue to forge ahead for free, fair, and transparent general elections in Dominica.
We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make Dominica strong. We have an opportunity to change things around, an opportunity to change things, an opportunity to make Dominica strong.
We are supposed to be having this conversation with Brother Kent Vital, Mr. Severin McKenzie, Mr. Johnson Boston, and Mr. Nicholas George.
Certainly, we got to fight hypocrisy.
Let's move across to see if they are here already. Gentlemen, good evening to you and welcome to Civic Vibes.
Yeah, good evening, Marty. Yeah, nice to be here with you and Alvin.
All right, Brother Kent, let's start with you. Let's give that vouvan. You are here with us on Civic Vibes. Good afternoon to you, my brother Kent Vital.
Yes, man. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's normally in a Sunday, I'm relaxing and I don't sleep, but I just look at a nice movie or something. So, but thank God I'm here and I'm in the company of great men. So that's good.
Right? Lofty, you see how easy these youngsters have it? You see on Sundays, you relax on Sundays, the old man and yourself with your working. Huh?
Yeah. But it's really nice to be here. I was enjoying just listening on a while ago to the two young ladies that you just had. You know, we need more young people to take a great interest in our country. You know, there's so many bad examples and there's so many crying and so many just so disappointed with the way our country is going and turning. And we have to turn it around. But part of the solution to turn it around is when young people arise and say, in spite of bad governance, we're going to do something. And just taking that attitude alone helps to turn bad governance around. So I really congratulate these two young ladies, and we need more like them. Not just, I mean, they're an example even to those of us who are older. So that's good. So I really appreciate that, listening for the few minutes I came on and they were on talking. That was really lovely.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, Brother Vital, thank you very much. You are getting warmed up nicely here. Let me move across to Mr. Boston, Johnson Boston, no stranger to us in Dominica. Boston, nice having you, brother. Greetings and welcome.
Well, Mr. Durand, Loftus Durand, nice being with you and Alvin Thomas. I've been following Civic Vibes, and it's a wonderful platform to provide information. And as Ken said, the two young ladies who were with you all early on, I listened for a brief moment, and I think they're very positive. I want to wish them well and wish what they're doing success in their community and the spin-off across Dominica. I think it is a good example that they are setting, that we have to build a country, and to build a country requires the young, the old, the not too old. All of us, Tutmon, have to put their hands to the plow and make it work. And I think if we can encourage and develop that kind of attitude towards nation building, we are going far.
Indeed, indeed. Boston, in promoting the program for today, when I told somebody that, somebody asked me, who will be on if you guys later? I said, you know, the reps from the ERC, Ken, George, Mackenzie, said, oh, Bosso, the statesman. I'll be tuned in to listen to the statesman. So you have some fans out there following you, Bosso, in terms of your statesmanship. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I mean, I'm doing my utmost to play my part. I mean, I've been involved in the struggle from age 14. In early days, age 14, I became a senator at a young age. And I remain in the process because I believe no matter where you go to in the world, your country is always your country, and you always want betterment for your country and its people. And wherever you are as Dominicans, at home and abroad, I mean, it's our country, and together we can make it great.
Indeed. We are also expecting the presence with us here as well, Brother Nicholas George. I haven't seen him as yet, but let's hope he gets in here. But we have as well Brother Severin Mackenzie, again, architect by profession, no stranger to us in Dominica. This brother is always doing something for and on behalf of country. Mr. Sev, good evening to you, bro.
Good evening, Lofty, and good evening to your listeners, and good evening to brothers on the panel. You're just taking me out of my retirement. I'm fading out of this public thing, you know. I'm fading out, Lofty. I think they have heard this voice for over almost 50 years. So right now, you know, you have to let the young people come in and take the baton and move forward.
Well, there's much I can say about that, but in the interest of time, sir, we will shorten that for now. My response, I wouldn't go into that responding to you now in terms of that voice and taking on that battle. Alvin, the gentlemen, they are here. The gentlemen, rather, they are here. I don't know what you want to say to them in terms of welcoming them to that space.
Well, I just want to
begin in a while.
Yeah, I just want to join you, Lofty, in welcoming those gentlemen. Yeah, I mean, each one of them, in their own individual way, have contributed immensely to Dominica and its development and its people. And although I heard my brother dear Severin Mackenzie, I mean, you know, you have to have a marriage, and that marriage has to be between the old and the new, and the young and the old, and that's what's going to move us forward. So I really want to thank them for coming on. I think the topic or the issue that we'll be having a conversation on here this evening is a very, very important issue that affects all of us, whether you're young, old, or yet to born. It affects all of us. So I'm looking forward to that engagement and having that conversation. And I always like to say it's a conversation. Let's have a conversation with the people. It's not coming here and trying to lecture anyone or anything like somewhere that we all can be happy about and that is in the best interest of our country.
Indeed. All right, folks, it is 6:40, 20 minutes to 7 o'clock. So let's get into it now, as it were, the conversation that we're about to have here. The need, very desperate need for free, fair, and transparent general elections in Dominica. All of these gentlemen here on the panel have been working very, very hard to try to ensure that that thing becomes a reality. Gentlemen, I don't know which one of you want to, you know, quote unquote, take the first bite at that cherry in terms of the conversation.
Well, if you may, Lofty, let me kind of get them out in the sense that maybe I could ask, describe today the work of the ERC. Any one of you, whoever the chairman who may be, describe the work of the ERC in terms of your engagement with the citizens and how this whole thing has been evolving and how confident you are that it is gaining traction with the people.
Well, I will start, Lofty and Alvin, and to say that the ERC was formed in 2022 when the Prime Minister dissolved Parliament and called the snap sham election without the conclusion of electoral reform that was well on its way. And having had a snap election in 2019, and the vexing issue was reform to ensure that the playing field is leveled and our citizens who are interested in representing our people in Parliament, in government, could have a fair opportunity to compete, and whoever the voters vote for and declared by the returning officer as the duly elected person to be in Parliament and in government. And obviously, we all can rally behind that person or that group of persons in the interest of our country, to unite our country, unite our people, and build our nation. But then the Prime Minister offered, after the 2019 election, that we will not go to another election without reform, and having addressed the nation in November of 2022, and had said that this matter was, nearing completion, and we have evidence that the guy he appointed, that's Dennis Byron, had sent a letter to him and the leader of the opposition at the time to give a schedule of the work that was ongoing and nearing completion. And therefore, we had sufficient time to have received the report, do the work necessary, engage the stakeholders, go to Parliament, and then legislate those laws to make it law in the country when the Prime Minister called an election without even waiting. So we felt as different organizations, political, religious, and civic groups, that we should come together to create a whole so we can all together in one voice really express our dissatisfaction in the way in which our country is being run and the fact that our democracy is being undermined and crippled. So therefore, we participated in that campaign, educating Dominican people. The election was called, took place. It was boycotted by the main opposition parties. A few independent candidates contested 2-1, and that's where it is. But we have continued the work of the ERC, and we have been engaging with the people. We had a very successful event in January where we brought Senator Anil Roberts from Trinidad to speak to us at the PSU conference room, and people came out in their numbers to support, to express their views, and to show solidarity with the work that the ERC have been doing. We since then written to the Prime Minister to have an audience with him and his cabinet. He did accept the invitation and said he would do the meeting with us. But the time we had proposed was not sufficient, was inconvenient for him, and therefore he would set a date. We are still waiting, and that was since January of this year we wrote and had several follow-ups. 3 follow-up letters plus phone calls. Then we wrote to meet the Electoral Commission. We were told the chairman was out of state, and on his return, we'd have the meeting that was somewhere in late February. We have not had that meeting, early March, we have not had that meeting. And we wrote to the president, who, of course, responded, accepted the request, and we had a meeting with the president, a very cordial meeting, one of where we as members of the ERC and the president of Dominica, who's the head of state, and in our presence was as well the Attorney General. And we had a very, very cordial discussion on the whole question of reform. And Loftus made the point earlier on, our mission is not to promote parties in this regard, it's to promote the need for comprehensive electoral reform for Dominica, where we can have transparent, clean, level playing field election in our country, so that all of us, as citizens, will have an equal chance to compete and to provide representation to our people. So that's where we're at, and the work continue because we want to ensure that what goes to Parliament is what the majority of Dominicans have been talking about. And we have had engagement of the CCM, and Lofty knows very much about it, but he led the CCM at the time. And then we had the Freedom Party, the UWP, the civil society of the business sector, the church, and the unions coming together. So a lot of work was done on that. We had also the CARICOM, OS, and Commonwealth who did work on that, and then so Dennis Byron. So that's where we are after almost 15 years in that struggle.
Wow. All right, Bosso, thank you very much indeed. Kent, any follow-up from you as it pertains to the question I've been asked?
Well, Bosso have explained it nicely, but I will just continue to say the element of electoral reform is very important. He spoke about the elections that was held. I think he called it a sham elections, right? So clearly, we would like electoral reform, and we would not like it to be a sham, another sham reform, another set of. And we saw, after many broken promises, after the elections, the snap elections that was boycotted, that the Dennis Byron report was forwarded to the government. They had a set of consultations, and again, in the view of many persons, those consultations were a sham again. They were playing to the tune, they were playing to impress. It was not genuine to my mind, my observation of what happened. They were maybe playing to impress the observers, but clearly they were playing a game. There didn't seem to be a genuine effort to have a national conversation about what is right, what are the right set of reforms that we should be engaging in to ensure that the playing field is fair. So that was a shame. Nevertheless, we are pushing on, and we are saying that the process must continue. The set of consultations were held, but there must be a process to continue to seek to arrive at the right thing. So we think there must be a minimum set of reforms. There are some reforms that could be done in short term, some reforms that could be done over the medium term, and others that would take some constitutional amendments. And the ERC have set those out in the meeting that Bosso spoke about with the president that was presented. But clearly, at least in the immediate term, we are saying there must be a minimum set of reforms. And there are a number of those we listed, but that certainly should include a clean voters list. That certainly should include appropriate criteria for eligibility. Or, there is an existing criteria concerning the number of years somebody could be out of Dominica to be still eligible to vote. That must be clarified, ensure that there is no ambiguity about it. That must be in such a way that it doesn't present an unfair advantage to any one person. So those things, and then the voters' ID, these are some of the minimum things, along with a number of other things that the electoral reform has presented. But clearly, we don't want another sham set of reforms. Those reforms must not favor the government. Those reforms must be fair. Some of persons who support the government may not be offended if the government behaves unfairly with reforms, because they may say, something, it's my government in power. But as we always like to say, you have to think carefully about that, because what you may be doing is just helping to drag our country down closer into dictatorship, closer into a situation where government so retains power so that they can do whatever they want. Many people are crying, and clearly to some of us, we are becoming a failed state. Your contribution to that kind of thinking, that is my government, and no matter how wrong they do, whether or not they do the right thing or not, because it's my government, that will take our country down a bad path. It's like behaving like a gang. The gang is doing wrong, but it's my gang, they give me something, and therefore I will continue to support them no matter what.
Yeah.
We want people to stop and think of their behavior. That is really the way in which some people are behaving, and we're trying to have a conversation with people and say, no, that's not good. We need a country that works for all of us. And you see, I think some people are fearful that the country, you have to take as much as you can because there isn't enough to go around. But I want to say to people, if we have the right governance, and we have many intelligent people, experienced people, not just in Dominica, but all over. And I could tell you as an economist, we could so manage our country and so run our country that there is enough for all of us, that some of us don't have to try to corner and get as much as possible out of the country and think that there isn't enough to go around. It's only people who don't have very good minds and very minds that can really think. And that's why earlier on I said I really appreciated what these two young people are doing, because we can clearly run our country in such a way that we all can share in the benefits of the country. So we want people to think of what they're doing. Don't just support the government because you're on their side, even if they're doing the wrong thing. We have to get away from that. So I would just like to add that at this moment to what Bosso have said.
All right, Kent, thank you very much, my brother. Much food for thought on the plate so far for us to, digest on here. I'm seeing here Nicholas George is here. Mr. George, good evening to you and welcome.
Good evening to you, Mr. Gerard. Good evening to the listeners outside of Dominica.
As though I'm hearing you a bit far and a little reverb. I don't know if you can rectify that for us.
Good evening.
Yes, much better. Yeah, you're sitting up better. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I didn't bring his camera down a little. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. You're good there. Excellent.
All right. So I say good evening to Mr. Gerard and Mr. Thomas. Long time I haven't seen you. I hear your voice all the while. You continue to do great work. And good evening to all our listeners in Dominica and outside of Dominica. We are continuing with the struggle to ensure that electoral reform is brought to Dominica. I'm not going to go back in too far in history, because we are at a point where I believe the Prime Minister is likely to bring some kind of legislation on the process to Parliament. Our concern is, because the Prime Minister wants to take liberties with the truth, that we have a problem having confidence in whatever it is that it presents. My take is that the electoral reform legislation is the second most important piece of legislation that will be passed in Dominica. It is second only to the Constitution. The Constitution gives Parliament the power to pass the electoral reform legislation. But when that legislation is in effect, it actually now gives life to the Constitution, because it is from proper elections you get properly elected, clearly elected representatives to go to parliament who elect the president in parliament. And then the president appoints the prime minister, and the prime minister appoints the ministers, and all the other institutions, they get life because there's an operating parliament. So this electoral reform legislation is not like the Firearms Act or the Offenses Against Persons Act. Those two acts, they talk about social ills that you want to regulate and you want to get corrected. This one talks about the actual governance of the country. And it is important that the Prime Minister and those who advise him get that message. When our Constitution was passed, before it was passed in 1978, adopted and passed in 1978, there were negotiations and some measure of consensus was arrived at. For instance, one grouping had the intention to keep a Governor General and had a state, another the president. We agreed that we would go to a president head of state. And that was nouveau for us. And just a year ago, Barbados followed suit. 46 years after Dominica took that decision. And that came across because there was consensus. And so the law is not the Prime Minister's law. The law is Dominica's law. We're talking about the good governance of Dominica, not an estate of any individual. And therefore, the law that must be passed must be such that it becomes a legacy of those who passed it in Parliament, that it was fair, just, and it brought about equitable justice in the land. The preamble of the Constitution speaks to the need for equitability in whatever it is we do. It talks about godliness. You know, we acknowledge the supremacy of God in the preamble to the Constitution. So long before you go to section 1 that talks about the freedoms and rights and so on, or whatever section that says to appoint the Prime Minister, you must first acknowledge, because the people of Dominica acknowledge the supremacy of God. It says to us there that whatever we do must be godly in effect. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is what we're presenting to the state. Is it godly? At the moment, I have very little confidence in it. I want to go, just one more point I would like to make is that the Prime Minister has, I would say, deceptively set a timeline that shows that he has absolutely no regard, no recourse, no respect for consensus. Absolutely not. The Prime Minister said around about the 5th of April, and in the first 2 weeks of April, he would present to the country the draft legislation that he has upgraded from what it is that the Byron delivered to the nation. We are at the end of April, literally at the end of April. So his 2 weeks and then a bonus 2 weeks have passed. He's not giving us that legislation. He's going to send it to the commission. Then he's going to go to Parliament for the first reading, have a 2-week recess, and then go back for the second and third reading. All that can be done in May or in June, because he wants to pass that before the budget of July. That says to me that this is a Prime Minister that is set on not seeking consensus in whatever goes to Parliament. He does not care what it is. So I am almost at a state where I really am not interested in engaging the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, go ahead. The estate of Dominica seems to be yours, so you can do what you want. But it's not going to go down this way. The Prime Minister should allow for the presentation of the draft bills that he has upgraded, discussion on that, discussion with a committee of intellectuals and which Dominica can provide. We've proven that. To discuss this thing clause by clause and to arrive at a compromise. And then present it to the commission. You get their comments and we reconvene with that committee. You get them consensus and then it goes before Parliament. What is agreed to goes to before Parliament with the mission behind it, it is passed. he talks about he wants to have provisions in the budget for the legislation. I am convinced that the Prime Minister already has all the estimates that the Commission required, that would cost the Commission to implement the law once it's passed. So there's no real urgency in it passing now to affect the quantum of funds that will go into the budget to facilitate the implementation. I am sure that he knows already what that is all about. And in any case, he can budget a certain amount, and if there is a shortfall, he can do the appropriations bill, have an appropriations bill to pay for any shortfall that might arise. So that is not an excuse. What the Prime Minister ought to do, what the country requires, is dialogue on the final draft that sits and gets consensus from a wide cross-section of the country. That when the law is passed and it is being implemented, that is to be fair across the board. And then we will get free and fair election, hopefully at the end of the day. And whoever emerges as parliamentary representatives and whichever government that is formed, that government will now have the blessings of the country.
All right, George, well put, well said. Thank you very much. It's at the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. That is where we must take a break. In terms of the programming content here, we're going to play an advertisement from the Marigot Development Corporation. That is, when we come back, we're going to hear some points from Brother Severin McKenzie, and then we open up reopen the floor, as it were, to this, dialogue between us here, the conversation we're having. So guys, so far, so good. Let's take that all important break at this time.
Join us for a day of wellness at MDC's Marigot Village Health Fair, taking place Friday, May 3rd, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at W.S. Stevens Primary School, Weirs, Marigot. Come get free health checks, including cervical, breast and prostate screening, blood pressure and diabetes check. This event is presented by Fresh Market Pharmacy and St. Andrew's Hospital Foundation in collaboration with the Marigot Health District and supported by Trois Piton Water, Q95 FM, Afu Awi Big Shop, Digicel, Country Style Bread, and the Marigot Development Corporation, MDC. Don't miss this opportunity to prioritize your health with us. Remember, your health is your wealth. See you there.
Yes, indeed, folks, your wealth is your health. See you at Marigot for that all-important health fair that these folks of the corporation, they have in just a bit in me. All right, folks, yes, welcome back. Those of you who are here with us still, it's 2 minutes past this hour, 7 o'clock. And if you're just tuning in at this time, we're having a very interesting conversation. That conversation, is an ongoing conversation in an ongoing struggle in Dominica for just a very basic thing that all democracies, thrive on, is free, fair, and transparent general elections. That is all we're asking for. And at the end of the day, whichever political party wins, then, that's it. We congratulate that party. Severin McKenzie, we have not heard from you as yet in terms of some of your points. And then we're just going to have this conversation between the gentlemen here as to, the conversation hand. So Sev, yes, take it away. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I think some people are getting fed up about the whole question of electoral reform. I think there is a certain level of electoral reform fatigue in the country. And if there is electoral reform fatigue in the country on the part of the electorate, then the only people that it can benefit are those in power, because the status quo will continue. And it is important for people to understand why electoral reform is so important. And I'm going to throw a question on you. How do you believe that there can be a change of government or change of administration or an opportunity for within our electoral system for any other party that is in opposition to win an election. We want to take this one on? You got the question?
You have some bright sparks with yourself. So I'll leave that to some of your colleagues.
Well, and I think this is one of the things that the population, the Dominican citizens have to understand, that the only way that you could get a change of government or for parties, the various parties to win elections, is to have a free and fair electoral process where all political parties can participate on a level playing field and let whoever the electorate chooses to win the election. That's the only way. I mean, there are other ways that people are talking about, but our system of government allows for governments to come in through elections. You hear, for example, and I was alive, in fact, I was on the front line in 1979, just left school, during the 1979 uprising. And you hear people talking about, getting how many thousands of people on the ground and the government can fall. In the final analysis, even when Patrick John fell, or Patrick John's government fell, it was still a constitutional process that they had to go through. And why I say that? Because O.J. Serafin, who was one of the 15 members of parliament of the Dominican Labour Party, was one of the first ministers to resign. And then we could almost say that the rest is history as how the other ministers fell. And only 2 of the government of Patrick John's ministers remained and never resigned. And they were Vic Riviere and Patrick John. So he had 13 of his ministers, 13 of his parliamentarians. PJ had about 13 of his parliamentarians who were stoned, and he must have heard people talking about the Coolwash Brigade that actually forced the Labour Party parliamentarians to resign one by one. And after the Labour Party parliamentarians resigned one by one, they were able to, some of them were able to team up with the Freedom Party parliamentarians, who were 6, and form an interim government, go to parliament with OJ and say that they had a majority of the elected members of parliament. So anything that has to happen has to be along those lines in terms of changes. Because the other way that government could actually change is if something happens in the country and the president suspends the constitution, appoints a caretaker government for maybe about 6 months, and then this caretaker government is given the responsibility to prepare for general elections. So we still come back to general elections. So this is why the question of electoral reform is so important. And as the situation exists now, unless there are serious changes to the electoral system in Dominica, and which is basically the electoral legislation, the electoral laws which govern the country, which have been in existence since our independence. Unless there are changes to it to create that level playing field, then I could tell you that the incumbent is not going to get out of office, because they have found ways of manipulating the electoral system over the last, 5 or 6 election cycles. And I could tell you one of the main things that you have to look at. I mean, we talk about voter ID card, we talk about voter ID card, we talk about what are the others again? Cleaning the voters list and those type of things. But unless you have campaign financing reform, unless you deal with the money element, the money that is associated with general elections in Dominica, and bring some control over it, I do not believe that the opposition forces are going to have a chance of ever being able to win an election. And I could say that from my own experience, because I was with the Labour Party in 2000. In fact, let me only make it abundantly clear that I do not shy away from my political experience and my roots. I was way back in 1980, as a very young man, I was supporting the Alliance. Then I went to Cuba to study, and then in 1990, I actually contested the general elections of 1990 for the Dominica Labour Party. In 2000, I was part of the Labour Party campaign team that brought about the victory for Labour and Freedom in 1990 against the United Workers' Party. So, I mean, I know exactly how the system works. In 2008, when I saw how things were going, I decided to dissociate myself from party politics and wrote the Labour Party and the Prime Minister a letter and told him that what hurts me is there are some things, it is very painful that you could campaign and advocate against certain things taking place in the country when the Labour Party was in opposition. And now that we are in power, we are doing some of the things, and we are even doing worse things than what the other party was doing, and I cannot condone it. And for that, since then, I've actually distanced myself from any political party. So as I speak now, I want to make it abundantly clear. I am not associated with any political party in Dominica. If a political party is on the right track and giving things, I can actually give them support in the policy or whatever they're fighting, but to be part of the political party system, I refuse to be associated and be a member of a political party. So with that being said, I believe that the question of electoral reform is very important. And at this stage, I will also say that my involvement also stretched to, you must have heard of the work that we did when I was the president of the Dominica Business Forum, when the business organizations, church, trade unions, and those things in 2019 came together and put out a long, comprehensive document on how Dominica should achieve electoral reform and the whole electoral reform process. And this is one of I think this is one of the only documents that exist as far as civil society is concerned, to the extent that when the Prime Minister appointed Sir Dennis Byron to be the consultant on electoral reform, we presented him with the document that we prepared, and he made it one of the bases. He took quite a bit of information from the document that we had prepared. And even when Byron was appointed, I know, Lofty, you gave me some blues. The Dominica Business Forum also was one of the few organizations, if not the only organization, that actually organized a national consultation on electoral reform to try to get the information that we wanted across to Byron. And after Dennis Byron submitted his report, we again conducted another consultation where we actually were able to review his document to see where it was falling short, and came up with this 26-point document program where we believe there are 26 short-term, medium-term, and long-term recommendations that we have made for electoral reform in Dominica. So at the stage where we are now, I think people have to understand that moving forward with electoral reform, quite a bit of work has been done. We have seen a light, we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and people should press on to make sure that they get the electoral reform that they deserve. Because at the stage where we are right now, two things can happen. That the Prime Minister with the committee, whatever committee that he has appointed, can take whatever recommendations and the legislation that they have prepared, go to Parliament with it, and it does not meet the requirements of the opposition, of what the opposition forces have been fighting for, and then we go right back to square one. The other one is the Prime Minister can make sure that he delivers the document to the opposition and other civil society organizations and the public, where we can review it to ensure that what we expect to be in the legislation is included in the legislation. And we have some type of agreement, and then they go to Parliament and they pass the legislation that the people of Dominica are looking for. And this is why, from the ERC point of view, what we have been basically saying is, it is kind of unfair that the Prime Minister, who is the leader of the ruling party, who is the Prime Minister of the country and has control over cabinet, and who is also the leader of Parliament, he has all these authorities. He has all this authority that he should still be the one in charge of overseeing the electoral reform process and have his committee being the one reviewing his legislation. It cannot be fair. And all we have asked for is, we asked for two things after the consultations of last August, which was basically, now that Byron has submitted his report and his draft legislation, you have actually conducted a number of consultations all over the place. We believe that the best approach was to get a broad-based committee made up of different organizations, individuals, who would come together and review the recommendations that are coming from the consultations with Byron's draft legislation and come up with something that would be acceptable. And this would then be circulated to the public for review again before you go to Parliament. But what the Prime Minister has actually done, he has actually taken the Byron's report and his recommendations coming from the thing. He has put his committee together, looking at his laws, and he is right now saying, when he goes to Parliament, he will not be accepting any nonsense from those who have been crying for it, and this time is no joke. I think this is a recipe for disaster. But I guess it is the duty of every Dominican to take responsibility for the future, because the thing about it is that electoral reform or satisfactory electoral legislation in Dominica is not for us, this generation. It is for generations. It is for the generations to come. And if we mess up and do not put the systems in place for us to have the electoral changes that we need to make sure that we can have a thriving democracy, where people can vote for the government, for the politicians that they deserve, then we are in for trouble. And I want to say another thing, before I just end my thing. I think I've spoken after that. I done for the night, right, Lofty? One of the things I would want to say is that there are some persons who are aspiring to take power. There are aspiring politicians. There are people who are waiting for the opportunity for them to present themselves as candidates to take, because they want to be in government. I do not want to be in government. My days for that pass. And these aspiring politicians should be more interested in the process so that they can have a fair chance of winning an election when elections come. And to be honest, I'll tell you, I was reluctant to come on this program tonight because I'm weary. I mean, what do I have to do? I have survived for almost 70 years. And I'm sure, you know, what's the time they give us? 3 scores and 10?
70, right there.
So I'm closer to this mark now. So I believe that those who are affected, people like you, Lofty, who are far from that, who should be the ones championing the cause and taking the initiative and try to see how we can achieve a proper electoral system which will ensure a level playing field for people to participate in free and fair elections. So after tonight, I rest my case.
You rest your case.
Thank you very much. I can go, right?
Stay there, stay put. All right, gentlemen, we in terms of the conversation we're having here, you guys have said a lot. And it would be fitting now if we just, you know, sort of have this interaction now among ourselves, as it were, as to what really and truly I am putting that on the plate, on the burner straight up. What needs to be done? Much have been said. What do you think needs to be done in order that we achieve that very thing called free, fair, and transparent elections? Any one of you guys? Bosso, you're there? Oh, okay. I was just asking whether you're there still, Bosso.
I'm there, yes. I was listening.
Yeah, and the time is running out, so if we can just kind of make the points to pass on to another, yes.
Yes, I would say, Lofty, I mean, the authority of a country has a lot to do in terms of its governance. Equally, the people, the citizenry has a lot to play as well, because it's a participatory democracy. It's not a one-man captured society. And the government must be a civilized, fair government and recognize its role after it got elected is to provide for the citizenry and to build a society of fairness. That must be the role of any government in a civilized democracy. Mr. George made the point earlier on, when the team left here in 77 to discuss independence, 77, 78, we were then a colony under the British, and the British didn't invite the Labour Party, who was the government, to come to England. They invited the government and the opposition to come to England. So there was a discussion of the two sides, because both represent people, and that's where the whole came. And we discussed independence, and in 78, we became an independent nation. Even when we were hoisting our flag, the Dominican flag, under the British supervision, the parliament was held in the Windsor Park, and the parliament had two sides. So at all time, it recognizes that there is a democracy, and in that democracy, there is an opposition and a government. And we're saying, though, that in the discussion of reform, the Prime Minister should not shy away by inviting the opposition. And when I say opposition, I mean those of us who are in opposition, including those who are in Parliament, to discuss what is best for the country. So at the end of it, we may not all agree to the same thing, but at least we would assist to ensure that the best thing goes forward for the country. You know, I just want to quote what Norman Manley said in a speech he gave to Parliament many years ago, where he says, one should not pass laws while they're in government that they cannot live under when they are in opposition. So in other words, you should be able to exist under the law you provide. And reform is a continuous thing. I mean, there was a time, Lofty, women could not vote, you know, it was only men. There's a time you had to have property, money in the bank, house, and land to vote, to run for election. There's a time you had to be 21 years of age to vote. And out of reform, our forefathers recognized that you cannot give political power and to hand over the electoral process in the hands of those who have economic power, because they may just use their economic power with the political power to feather their nests and to exploit the masses. So they make it equal. So whether you're a rich man or a poor man, you have a right to participate and to provide leadership and representation to your country, to your people. And therefore, in terms of reform, you find women can vote. The question of land and money in the bank was removed. So now it's one man, one vote. And then the age of 21 to vote was reduced to 18. So it's a continuous thing, but therefore it makes the process fairer, more transparent, and accessible to those who are voting. And that's what we're asking for. First of all, the Prime Minister appointed a committee, and Mackenzie spoke on the broad-based committee. That's what we would have wanted. And up to this day, the Prime Minister haven't addressed the nation and say, who are the members of that committee? And all the press conferences you're having and talking all this nonsense about, you will not take foolishness and so on when you're ready to pass. He have not said to the country, these are the people who are part of the committee putting together the legislation to go to Parliament. He have not done that. So it tells you, like, it's almost you would want to say it's something that he have hijacked. It is his thing. It's a toy that he got, and then he's playing with the toy at the advantage of himself and his party and to disadvantage of the entire country, the general membership or citizenry of the country. And that's what we're saying. It has to be a fair process. So at the end of election, whoever wins the election in a fair system, you call and congratulate them, wish them well, and join with them to build a fair and prosperous society.
Yes, right. So you asked the question directly, what must be done for us to get to fair and fair elections, for us to get the right set of reforms? And that's a fair question. And there are two broad areas, and then there are details under each. But let me mention the two broad areas, and I'll come back to the details. But one, of course, is this, is what we have already been doing and what we must continue to do, and we have been doing it for some time. We have to continue to appeal to the powers that be to do what is fair and what is just. We have been doing that, and we will continue to do that. And we mentioned earlier our attempts to speak to the Prime Minister and the Commission, and our discussion with the President. That's part of what we're doing, but I'll come back to that in a while. But we have prided our country, oh, sorry, that's one. And then the second one is that after doing all of that, after appealing to the powers that be, if justice still can't be arrived at, if they fail to do the right thing, we have to get the people to the point where they're motivated in the righteous cause and say, look, we have tried everything, we have done everything, we have been fair, we have been reasonable. And having been fair and reasonable, we have to take whatever other actions are just, what other actions are morally right to save our country. That's the only way I could say it, but we'll come back to that in a while. But we really want to have a peaceful country. We have prided ourselves in being a peaceful country. We enjoy a measure of peace that maybe other countries, some other countries, many other countries that we know of, do not enjoy some of the peace that we enjoy. Many Caribbean countries enjoy that same kind of peace and tranquility. And if you were to look at the world governance indicators done by the World Bank, you would see one of the areas that the Caribbean always do very well in is under the criteria of governance and peace and so on. So we want to maintain that. But it was I think it's Bob Marley that sang that song. Peace. I don't want no peace. All I want is equal rights and justice. The fact is, especially in Dominica, there seemed to be a peace, but there's something boiling below the surface. People are fed up. We seem to be moving towards a dictatorship. The economy is doing real bad. There's victimization. There's always the threat of police brutality. There's always the threat of suppression by the police, the use of violence. There's always that. They demonstrate that whenever they need to. So while you might say we have a peace, there is something brewing under the surface that could break that peace anytime. But we want peace to continue. We want to continue in a country that is peaceful. But the best way to peace, the only way to guarantee that we maintain peace, that we do not break that peace, is for justice. If there isn't justice, you will always have the risk that the peace will be broken. So that is why, as ERC and as Dominicans of good conscience, we have to continue to appeal to the powers that be to do the right thing. We have to appeal to our people that we have to do the right thing. We have to appeal to the government to do the right thing. But after all, we have to take whatever measures it takes and hope they're not measures that break the peace. But sometimes it's better to have measures that break the peace to ultimately get peace, get justice and peace. But it's a determination that we have to make as a society. So I am saying peace is important and we want to maintain peace. But the government must understand, and people of good conscience must understand, churches must understand, unions must understand that the best way to guarantee the peace that we want is to seek justice. And when we talk about justice, we can refer to, let's say, 3 dimensions to that justice we're talking about.
And Kent, in the interest of time, just, kind of make it succinct, yeah?
Okay, quickly.
We're already 7:30.
Right. So first of all, the process. There must be a fair process. Nicola started to speak about what has happened and the shortness of time. You have to give a fair process so that there could be a proper discussion of what is a reasonable set of reforms that should be the country. If you don't do a fair process, if you have a rush process or a process that favors you or that pushes things down people's faces so that they don't have enough time to review, then you're not being just. Secondly, there must be a basis for determining what is just. And all I could say here is that, and Nicholas again touched on it, if you look at our constitution, we appeal to the fact that we are a God-fearing country. If you read our national anthem, you will see it there again. Many of us go to church on Sundays and so on. So we seem to have a biblical or godly basis for determining what is just. There must be a reason, and we have to appeal to the godliness, the Christ-likeness in our people, and say to them, let's do what is just. And if we do that, we will be able to come up to something that is fairly just. And thirdly is our motive. And I want to raise an example of that. If you do not have the right motives, you may just be recommending certain reforms that on the surface appears to be desired, but because there isn't the right motive to it, and because it's not combined with other measures, reasonable measures, you may be doing the wrong thing. So for instance, you may say, and you may have heard them say, we do not want to disenfranchise Dominicans. And on the surface of it, it sounds good. What they mean by that is that we want all citizens to vote, or we want registration of Dominicans overseas, that's what, and it may sound good. We don't want to disenfranchise citizens. But what is your motive for saying that? Your motive for saying that, their motive for saying that may not be genuine. It may be because they realize that, first of all, they have the kinds of monies to be able to bring Dominicans down to vote, assuming that the process continues where people have to vote in Dominica. They realize that they have that advantage, that they have the money. We all know about the money. We all know about the CBI money and so on, but in the interest of time, we won't go into that. So they may be saying that simply because they know they have the advantage on money. And several mentioned the whole issue of campaign finance reform. So without campaign finance reform, which they will never recommend because they're not genuine. They simply want to talk about disenfranchisement, and they would want to put it in the reform. They want to put some sort of formula reform that says all citizens can vote, or to remove the eligibility criteria to make it less restrictive and so on, because the motive is not right. That benefits
Yeah.
them.
All right, Ken.
Yeah.
We point well made, but in the interest of time, as I said, I'm not rushing you, but we have to, kind of bring the conversation home, as it were. There's a question that one of our listeners is asking at this time, and I would shoot that at Mr. Nicholas George for his answer just before Alvin Thomas comes in. What is the role, the important role, I must add, of the electoral reform, the electoral commission? That is Julius Corbett asking that question in all of the discussion we have in free and fair, transparent elections. Mr. George.
Yes, technically the electoral...
The commission, the electoral commission. Yes.
Dominica Electoral Commission. There has been debate before that they should have a primary role in this. I don't totally agree. The executive, that is the government, the cabinet, has the right to engage consultants as a consultant on matters of policy for the development of the country. And the question of developing laws for a country, for social cohesion, is one of the duties that the cabinet has. So the cabinet engaged the Dennis Byron, and there's nothing in my view wrong with that. We made a set of recommendations, and that it impacts on the work of the Electoral Commission. In the Constitution, the Electoral Commission is mandated to supervise the election, the general election, or elections in Dominica. And they must have a body of law. So what the Constitution has stipulated is that whenever laws are going to be passed that would impact on the duties of the commission must be advised of those laws for their comment. That is, so therefore, the Prime Minister said earlier this month that he would send us the draft to the commission for their comment is correct. So the issue of whether the Electoral Commission should engage us is not really, that's not really necessary. The Prime Minister is doing the correct thing by engaging. What the Prime Minister is not doing is allowing consensus. That is what he is doing. He's allowing consensus because he's already told us he's going to send it, if he has to, by constitutional mandate, send the document, the draft electoral legislation to the Electoral Commission for their comment. But then we know that might not take too long because the commission, in discussion with Mr. Dennis Byron, had already agreed with Dennis Byron that what he had met their conditions. Okay, so the Electoral Commission really, and truly, their role now and the role they've played so far, they cannot be truly faulty. But not having met with the Electoral Reform Coalition, that is us, our body, is something that is not right because we are from society and we're seeking to fit with them what it is we're observing so that when the law gets to them, they would take into consideration that is that which we would have put before them, which is the same thing we did. And through the graciousness of the President, she listened to us and she said, remember, her role, she has a role to advise. And it was impressed upon her that she should advise, and she said, I will advise. Similarly, if the commission had met with us, the commission would have heard from societies broadly, and therefore, when they are now considering the laws, the draft that would have been presented to them by the cabinet to the Attorney General's office, then they would have had these considerations and probably inject some of that in the comments back to the cabinet. So I hope I have answered the question.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, George. We have some questions on the live feed, but Alvin Thomas have been there for a little while now. Let me just have him chime in into the conversation here, rather.
Well, thank you, Lofty. Thank you, Lofty. A lot has been said, and I just before you asked that question on the role of the commission, I heard what Nicholas George has said. And I heard what Ken said a while ago. Give time, be fair, and all of that good stuff. And what Mackenzie said. And Bosso. But would it be fair to say that One, we have given more than enough time based on what Ken's observation is. Two, that's what Mackenzie said when he referred to the role and the Constitution. And finally, the observation that Nicholas just said. Wouldn't it be fair to say that we're giving the Prime Minister, who is also the leader of the Dominica Labour Party, how I want to phrase it. We are fluidly not giving him too much authority. Well, I wouldn't want to use the word authority because he does have authority as cabinet, as Prime Minister. But insofar as it relates to elections, we are giving him
recognition in the matter.
Yes. And over the years, and to respond to Ken, we've had 2 snaps elections. The last one was even more brutal because bear in mind, in November of the independence message, he said, well, you know, Sir Byron is doing X, Y, and Z. Bosso spoke about the letter that was written to the leader of the opposition, all of that. And the following month in December 6th, he called one night while half of the country or quarter of the country was going through a disaster and announced election. Don't you think we're just giving him too much? I mean, at what point do we say, you know what, we're not engaging with you anymore because you're not sincere? And how do we get the people? That is where the people, our Constitution starts with the preamble. And I always like to refer to that little Bible of ours. It's what guides us as a people, you know. Forget everything else. And I'm not saying that in any shade to say, well, disregard no law, no constitution. But the Constitution starts off, whereas the people of Dominica. That's the first line, before it says anything else. So how do we engage and get the people now? And I commend you guys for what you did with Anil Roberts and the Granby meeting.
Also, you will take that question from Alvin.
How do we get the people now? Because I'm telling you straight off, from where I sit, from what I've been seeing, from what I've been reading, until the people say we have had enough, we want it. All this meeting with Skerrit, with President, and with all that is a waste of time. I just want to be honest with you.
All right, Bosso, how do we activate the people? Thanks, Alvin. How do we activate the people now?
Well, the mobilization, motivation, and education continues. I mean, what have happened in Dominica for the last, say, 14, 15 years or so? These guys have created a situation of poverty, dependency, and handout. So in that sense, people, even if they meet you one-on-one and tell you that things are tough, you know, we need a change. But then sometimes they find themselves not readily excited or involved in coming out and providing the support that is required. But there's quite a large number of persons who are interested, who are involved, who are willing. I mean, we've had some very successful events, like the Anil Roberts. You saw a very reasonable size of people, of crowd came out. The meeting on the arch, good amount of people came out. And even while Loftus, you yourself was president of the CCM, you have brought some people out and so on. So the people are there. Some of them are, if you like, squeezed in terms of the economy and their survival. Even though what we're hearing, they are using the NEP program and the housing program against persons who want to express different views from the government views. I show you most of what the Prime Minister said, by the stroke of a pen, he can just end the NEP and the social welfare program that is taking place. So they use this as a threat to the people from preventing them from coming out. But I would say, and I want to commend all those who are making the effort to keep the process and keep the work alive.
Yeah, Bosso, just to make that question a little more focused, what is the ERC, the coalition that you guys are part of, we are part of, is doing or prepared to do to help motivate and inspire the people that Alvin spoke of to get that out of the way?
Now, if I were to answer this,
go ahead.
we have to understand the system that we are operating in. We are supposed to be operating in a multi-political party system. And then there is one political party in power with its 21 candidates, or 19 parliamentarians. They have 19 parliamentarians in office, in parliament, and they've got 5 senators. So they are well covered in all their 21 constituencies. I personally believe that the way the system works, it is a battle of political parties fighting for power. And those parties, those opposition political parties have to come up to put on the fight, because they've got to fight in their constituencies. And those persons who want to be candidates, who want to present themselves as political party candidates or independent candidates to replace this government, are the ones, I believe, who have a responsibility to do the work on the ground and mobilize people in their respective constituencies so that they can bring about change. We here in the ERC are only facilitating process on the surface. And, you know, because I hear people asking me to go out in the communities and hold town hall meetings and move. No, you see where I am there? I do not believe this is the role that I have to play, because I understand too well how the political system works. And when one party moves from opposition and gets into power, how they are the first, who they look for to purge or to victimize. So I am saying that the political parties, and Alvin, I'm not too sure if you will agree with me, but I believe that the political parties have to get their feet wet on the ground, go in the mud, go in the trenches, get their candidates who are caretakers, who are whatever, to go on the ground and mobilize the people who they want to support them. Because if in the end they do not do that anyway, they will never win an election, because the Labour Party is the only party that is well oiled. If the Prime Minister would call an election tonight, he has 21 candidates ready to go. All of them winnable. The opposition will be scrambling to see who they can get in that constituency and this constituency. And this is, and I mean, I think you're old enough for you to agree with me that in the past, you had, when people lost elections and they decided that they were not running again, they immediately were able to find a substitute, an alternative candidate who would be doing the work on the ground. Right now, you're wondering, who are the opposition candidates who are going to contest the elections? I mean, yes, it is one thing to say yes, because there are some people who may be employed in some areas and they want to keep the identity secret, but that doesn't prevent them from doing work on the ground without declaring themselves as a candidate. And this is what we have not been seeing. That everything appears to be left on the backs of the ERC to do all the mobilization, and we don't got the power, we don't got the financial resources, we do not have the base, in the support base on the ground. We have absolutely nothing. The only thing that we are doing is recognizing that the process for electoral reform needs a certain level of direction, and we are prepared to assist in that way. But for me personally, I mean, to be honest, I do not care which political party wins an election, since the election is free and fair. And I hope this answers your question. So please do not believe that I am not prepared to go on the ground trying to lose hours and nights going in all villages. And no. People who want to be People who want to replace this government, get yourself out and do the work.
Yeah. Let me just say quickly, very quickly, I subscribe to your comments. I subscribe to the 100%. And when I posed the question, it wasn't necessarily posed directly at not even you or the ERC, because like you said, and I think Bosso said it earlier, the system of electoral or systems is a democratic one that impacts everybody, political party, churches, business, trade unions, you name it. So the question was in a general term, not necessarily ERC. And all I'm saying is that we have, in my view, exhausted all of our efforts trying to persuade a guy in the person of the prime minister who doesn't want it. So therefore, and you're right, you as a political party, you exist to win elections. If you're a political party and your only reason for being a political party is being a political party name, then you're not really a political party. Political party exists to participate in elections and to win elections. And I always say here that although I don't want to go to the 79, a lot of us, there's arguments, there are several arguments on both sides. But let's take Grenada, as I always use as a perfect example. The opposition party in Grenada was out of office for 10 consecutive years, 2 terms, back to back. 10 out of how many years? And they were 0 to 15. And the political party, then being the opposition, reorganized themselves and confronted Keith Mitchell and won the election. And Keith Mitchell had a deep pocket too, because Keith Mitchell had CBI money. So Keith Mitchell was rich. The only person that doesn't have CBI money is St. Vincent. So you're right. I will agree with you. The work has to be done on the ground. And quite frankly, at this stage, I really don't think we're going to get much out of Skerrit. I think, on the other hand, too, that more of an engagement needs to take place with the Electoral Commission. And somebody asked the question. And I know you said you have attempted to meet with them and it's not possible, and the Prime Minister, but more engagement needs to be with the Electoral Commission, notwithstanding the comments that Nicholas made earlier on in terms of your role. But given their constitutional power as per section 38, 51, and 56, in particular 5611 of the Constitution, I think they have a major role. And to me, they're the ones that we should be engaging even on a more regular and a forceful basis.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right, Ken, just before you comment, Ken, let me just give us an idea of the time left. We have 10 more minutes left on the program. So basically it is, I know there's much more that can be said, but in the interest of time, we have to sort of, start to hone in on some points now and say our final comments. Maybe we'll have round 2 and round 3, but for now we have to sort of, bring it down. Yes,
I understand that. No, I want to be fair to the political party. So let me speak not as ERC, I must speak as me. And I want to say that we face difficult circumstances. The most important thing for me as an individual right now is for there to be free and fair elections. Because that is what brings the level playing field. If we have this, but that is not the job of, at this point in Dominica, as far as I'm concerned, that's not the job of a political party. It is also their job. It's not the job of just them. It is all of us. It is the unions. It is the civic organizations. It is all of us, because no matter who wins, what we want is a fair system. So I think all of us have to play a role in motivating each other and to all of us come on board and do what it takes. So to directly to your question, I think enough time has passed. I think this time around that he has put a timetable in his statement, we should keep him to that. If he does it, we should wait and see what he does and take actions accordingly. If he doesn't do it, we should still take actions, making that the last time we take a promise from him. So I'm saying that's what we must do. Now, going back, we all have to contribute to bringing the nation to a place where we realize, whether we are a political party or not, that enough is enough. We have to do something if it doesn't take the right action. And that is where all of us have to play our part. Now, I want to tell you this. I don't want to be unkind to the political parties, because if you go back to the last elections, what you see happening is that if it wasn't for the cheating, if it wasn't, I mean, there were a few other circumstances that happened, but let's not go in, we don't have the time. But if it wasn't for the cheating, this government would maybe have lost. Maybe at least they would not have won as many seats as they did. So now in our kind of political system, we do know it takes a lot of financing. I mean, I personally will be getting back strongly into the political sphere very soon. But I know the challenges political parties face. And it's not just easy to wake up and send 21 candidates. I went through it as a leader of a party, so I know how difficult it is. So I'm saying it's all of us' role to come together and encourage it. But at the same time, the political parties, yes, have to do their job. But the most fundamental thing is for all of us to insist and do whatever we can, along with the political parties, to say you must have this reform and have it now and have a timetable. You have been given enough time, but we must allow the public to see that we do everything that has been reasonable.
Yeah. All right, Kent, and on that note, your final comments, because for
yes,
sure in the interest of time, that was your final comments.
Yes.
All right. Let's go around the table now. We have Nicholas George. You're smiling, a 9:15 smile. I normally call this kind of smile. You have something to say in terms of final comments.
Yeah. How can I find myself in this agreement with the team, Dr. Alvin Thomas? You know, I know he picked a fight. I am not going to join the fight. I'm going to accept responsibility because I serve as the General Secretary of the United Workers' Party. I know, and everybody knows, that the United Workers' Party has been advocating for electoral reform from 2005 to present. It has taken the matter to court. We have the final judgment that was given on the 22nd of July 2022. So we know the effort that the United Workers' Party has taken, and it continues to take. What we say is that it almost appears that reasonable minds, the Labour Party doesn't seem to be endowed with reasonable minds, or people who are rational, or people who are nationalistic or patriotic. That's what comes to me. So it almost gets to a point, like Ken has said, if he does not deliver, the Prime Minister has to deliver. The Commission, and I think and this is why, again, the Commission is probably not meeting enough. They know the important role that they have to play, but they're deliberately not meeting because they are under the mandate of the Prime Minister. We must never forget the 208 letter written by Tony Asafan. That letter was the preamble to what we are offering now. The Commission has not changed. Yes, it is 5-2, it is 3-2, but it's 3-2 for how long? Look, the leader of the opposition then wrote in his capacity as leader of the opposition, using the address of the House of Assembly, raising a concern with the chairman of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission responded with a letterhead from his office, his Lord Chambers. How much more disrespect can one hit on official dom? Okay, so yes, we have to engage the Commission, and yes, the United Workers' Party will continue its advocacy in ensuring that we get free and fair elections in Dominica, and we will engage with the Prime Minister, Her Excellency the President, the Electoral Commission, and the citizenry of Dominica to achieve that.
Yes, indeed. George, thank you very much for your closing comments, my brother. Let's go to brother Mackenzie. You said that would be a final, but we want some final thoughts from you as we close. Mackenzie, are you there? All right,
yes,
it seems... okay, yes, yes.
I mean, there is one of the problems that actually exists in the country. There is a high level of ignorance in the country right now. And it's calculated because what actually happens is quite a bit of information that is supposed to be disseminated and getting down to the masses, particularly in villages. When you go out in those villages and you try to speak to people about it, they are totally ignorant of what is happening in the rest of Dominica. And why? Because the authorities have successfully stifled information getting out, particularly into the rural communities. So you hear quite a bit of noise and quite a bit of information coming out on Q95 and right now on Civic Vibes. But how far does this information get? And this is one of the problems. Quite a number of people in the rural areas are totally ignorant of what this electoral reform thing is all about. And it's calculated. And I think, and that's why I will say again, the political parties and those politicians who have political aspirations, have to take the information on the ground. Because in these rural communities, the information just doesn't get there. The handful of people that, for example, who will be on Facebook tonight or YouTube looking at your program is not sufficient. You know, you're traveling to the north, for example, and as soon as you get to Bells, you lose signal of Q95. As soon as you get to Poncassé, going down to Casbus Junction, going to the east, you lose signal. So the people are bombarded with the propaganda of the other radio stations and the other propaganda from the government officials and the government thing. And we are not getting, so I believe that we have some work, some of the old time forms of communication have to be reinstated. People have to take advantage of those type of things and get them back. Go and hold meetings and things, so that you can educate the people of what is going on. And this is what I think we tried to do in Grand Bay 2 months ago, or last month, in March. And you know, so when you, and I mean, Grand Bay is a perfect example. When you can look at how far back the militant people of Grand Bay have gone, I mean, you have to be shaking your head and saying, yeah, boy, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do in trying to gain back, you know, educate the people and regain consciousness. And it cannot be left to us, a handful of us in the ERC who are trying to give some guidance to the process. We need all hands on deck, and this is where the various organizations have to come on board. But again, there is a paradigm shift, you know, that people are not inclined. And then and let me make a last comment. You have a young population. You have a young population that gives the impression that electoral reform has nothing to do with them, whereas we are fighting for them. So it is a serious battle that we have to fight. And I'm not too sure, you know, in answering the question as to what has to be done.
Yeah.
Because if the work is done on the ground and the way the work can be done on the ground, I would put it fairly and squarely. Part of it has to be on those who want to replace the government.
All right, Brother Severin McKenzie, thank you very much for your final comments. Also, just before you come in, we have somebody on the telephone line. Caller, good evening to you. You have very, very limited time, but go right ahead.
Yes, Lofty. Thanks for taking my call. I've been calling, but it's look like I'm calling Q95 number all the time.
No, that's not
But
true.
let me say good afternoon to and good evening to your entire panel, especially Bosso. I'm glad I'm not the only one recognizing you as a statesman, because I always tell you, I don't look at you as a politician, I look at you as a statesman. But Lofty, that whole electoral reform, I'll make it short. The problem I see, one of the challenges, is that the Prime Minister has done a very good job in framing that conversation as a party issue. And electoral reform has nothing to do with no political party directly. Everybody should be equally, have the same advantage equally, because some people believe if we get electoral reform, UWP going to win. If UWP don't do the job on the ground, as Mackenzie said, if they don't do the work on the ground, they're not going to win. If Bosso don't do his work on the ground, the Freedom Party not going to win. And I think the ERC must emphasize more on that point to Dominicans. What we're calling for is an equal playing field, a fair system, a system that is just, where we all can support whoever win lofty. That's what I'm going to say, because it's a little late. And as I said, I've been calling Q95 number all the time, thinking is you I calling lofty. So it's my bad. Anyway, thank you. Good program. And thanks for informing us as usual. My brother, I always try my best on Sunday to tune in. Again, gentleman Kent and Mr. George and Mackenzie and who else? Bosso, thank you for what you guys doing. But it's a Dominica issue. We should take out that party thing from that. You know what I mean?
All right.
And that's what I believe. Most Dominican wouldn't object to a fair system, a system that's equal, a system that's transparent, a system where everybody can. I don't think no Dominican would disagree with that. I think we all should agree on that point. And that's why Grenada, Antigua, and all the other rest of the Caribbean countries getting electoral reform, because it's not a party issue. Opposition and government, all of them joining together to get the reform done. While in Dominica is a whole different kettle of fish. Thank you, Lofty.
All right, point well made, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, Bosso, you have some time to wind up with us and maybe just answer to the caller's question or comment.
Yes, I want to thank the caller for his call and his comments, of course. And I want to say to you, Lofty, and our listeners, that we are fighting a real evil in Dominica. It is not just a simple matter. And Mackenzie is right when he said the party must play their role. Kent is equally right when he said every Dominican must get involved in that fight. Because if we are a country that turn a blind eye to what is right, what is fair, what is honest, then obviously our country is falling into the hands of Satan every minute. And therefore we can't pride ourselves as a good country, a good people, if we leave the battle of what is right for just a handful of us and so forth. Because, I mean, those of us who want the program tonight, including you, Lofty, can decide, you know something, and Alvin, leave Dominicans in their business, leave it alone and look for yourself. But at the end of the day, are you comfortable in your bed? If you are from a country where you born and grow up, where you're living, and it is not, you know, united and the right things are not being done, are you happy? And this is why you find yourself involved. And I think the business sector, the young people, the churches, everybody must recognize that electoral reform is the basis, the foundation of our democracy. And if we do not get it correct this time, we can say goodbye to a civilized, fair country, because it affects everything. You speak to a young person now, and their first thing they tell you is, I want to leave the country. You know, the first thing, I want to leave. I remember as a boy growing up, people tell you, I want to go to study and come back. But now people want to live for good. Even people who have government job. I know a young lady who have a government job, and she just resigned and went to live in the United States. Because why? The country is not catering for its citizens to live. Look at the Haitians. They came here for survival. Some of them came, they used here as a transit point to come and go somewhere else. But a lot of them are living, because why? This country is not providing the opportunity for our country, for our people. And I'm saying that everybody need to get involved in reform. I want to give an example. In Jamaica, for example, every 10 years, they do a cleansing of the lease every 10 years. They have that system in place. And remember, as a boy growing up, we look at Jamaica as a very vile place politically. But do you know there are a number of business places in Jamaica who support politics, who support democracy? There's a foundation called the Foundation for Democracy, and business people put monies in there, and this committee there in that group, they share the money between the JLP and the PNP and so on, because they recognize that politics in a democracy will exist, and it must be fair and transparent. And our fight really is to ensure that Dominica get the right set of reform in the interest of every Dominican. And therefore, they must see it as a serious thing to get involved in and get involved and support us in it. All right, again, Lofty, I want to thank you. I want to thank Alvin. I want to thank your viewers and your listeners, and to say to Dominicans at home and abroad to join the fight, join the struggle with the ERC to ensure that the Prime Minister recognize that the people of Dominica are talking and he must do the right thing. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Johnson Boston, you and your crew from the ECR, thank you very, very much indeed. Splendid presentation so far. Brother Alvin Thomas, we are out of time already, but we have to sort of bring it back to us here so that we can say our final comments and then bye-bye.
Yeah, absolutely, Lofty. I think I too would like to thank the gentleman here. I wonder for a minute why we don't have a lady on that panel. That's something we would have to look at, because I'm of the view now that we need some woman power. I know we have Sister Rosie on the ground, but
they could not make it tonight, Alvin.
Oh, okay, all right, accept. But seriously though, I want to thank you guys. I think you guys did a splendid job in terms of presenting the matter. Our live feed was lighting up. We just couldn't get to it. So maybe we may have to have a part 2, because this is not a conversation. I think too, that is part of the problem. I wouldn't say the problem, but the challenge we have. We start a conversation on something, whether it's on radio, and we talk about it for 2 days, and the third day we move to something else, and there's not a consistent and a sustainable effort at it in light of what I think Mackenzie and most of you said in terms of the education that is needed. So maybe we have to do a little more of it, and hopefully we'll bring you guys back on board as the process continues. But I want to thank you guys for the work that you're doing. And I too believe, and based on the last closing comments that Bosso made, that elections, one, has consequences for young or old, and the young people in particular, and also it is the hallmark of any democracy. So if we don't get it right, if we don't do it right, if we turn our backs on it, I think it has consequences for every one of us, including those of us who are in the diaspora. To those listening in the diaspora, don't think because you're not in Dominica, it's not going to have a consequence to you. It's going to have a consequence, because we see what's happening in Haiti and other countries where democracy has been dismantled. So thank you guys, and hopefully we can have a part 2 where we can ventilate some more on some of the issues and the concerns that we raised here this evening.
All right, Alvin, thank you very, very much indeed for your succinct winding up here. Let's play that ad from the Marigot folks one more time, and then we're going to play that song from Brother Checo, read the topic under the microscope tonight, and then we'll bring down the curtains on things here. Let's do that ad from the Marigot Development Corporation.
Join us for a day of wellness at MDC's Marigot Village Health Fair, taking place Friday, May 3rd, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at W.S. Stevens Primary School, Weirs, Marigot. Come get free health checks, including cervical, breast and prostate screening, blood pressure and diabetes check. This event is presented by Fresh Market Pharmacy and St. Andrew's Hospital Foundation in collaboration with the Marigot Health District and supported by Trois Pitons Water, Q95 FM, Afu Awi Big Shop, Digicel, Country Style Bread, and the Marigot Development Corporation, MDC. Don't miss this opportunity to prioritize your health with us. Remember, your health is your wealth. See you there.
Dominicans, why, Dominicans, we need our electoral reform. Tell Simbad, call the cabinet, our money can just go to waste like that. Dominicans pay their money. You should perform your duty. How long before we get our reform? We have some elections in the interest of one man. But like Egypt, the people need freedom.
All right, Dominica, that is it for the Civic Vibes program here this evening. This one from Brother Checo, electoral reform, he calls this one.
Spending money, sir. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before the fall house break.
On behalf of Alvin Thomas and the Civic Vibes crew,
May 29 and blood that was shed.
I want to thank you guys for your listening and viewing each and every Sunday from 6 o'clock. Let me thank the two young ladies who came to make the first segment what it was. And yes, the second segment you just heard from esteemed gentlemen here in Dominica. As we all continue that push for free, fair, and transparent general elections.
Enough talking.
What would the program be without you folks out there listening and always commenting? So we thank you very much.
We need reform. We need our voters' card.
Dominic, I'm trying to confirm. Yes, I'm trying to confirm some very unfortunate news that I got earlier.
How long before we get our reform?
The passing of a businessman in Dominica. I'm trying to confirm.
And before ballot.
But if you know me very well, once I don't or can't confirm, it's from 2 or 3 different or independent sources. And I normally keep that to my chest for now. But based so far, I'm hearing
stay in your lane.
We may have lost a businessman, a titan in Dominica.
Dominicans have taken
his name I will hold for now.
Give us reform before reform we take.
Yes, news just breaking.
People know
we may have lost a businessman in Dominica, up in age, ailing for some time.
So if you don't deliver for what?
So to his family and friends, if that is true, our condolences. Dominicans, thank you very much. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye. We love you.
Whoa, nana, whoa. Stop you swagging your magic. You can fool everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We need re-registration for free and fair elections, sir. Stay in your lane. The people reject your reefers of Byron. Dominicans know the difference between right and wrong. Give us reform before next election. The people ready to take a stand to make this country a democratic one. Dominicans want the reform for what they pay. Oh, Sky Pool
Electoral reform is essential, fundamental, absolutely.